Good morning. Welcome back to the garden. I'm just going to show you what I've got growing and some of the things that haven't grown, but let's have a look around. So you remember the aubergines? These have been out all summer. Now the weather here has been a bit rubbish, as in it's been kind of really wet for July and the temperatures haven't been great. I've kept these out just purely because I haven't got any room to put them inside the greenhouse. They are producing fruit, which albeit is being nibbled. Can you see that? And all the fruit has got like these extra little bits on, so they are being really productive, which is nice. Really shiny fruit. They're all the same variety. This is one called Black Beauty. It's prolific, but can you see what I mean about the weird shaped aubergines it's producing? So I think that's just, it might be potentially too much food, which is putting on growth spurts, so making it make fingers like that. But anyway, I'm not complaining. So that's them. And actually, considering the weather's been quite different for normal July, they've actually fared okay. And then the beds are kind of in a process of change at the moment. So I had a load of lettuces and beans and things. They've been removed now, so this is what I've got growing now. So I've just planted the French beans out. These were sown not that long ago, end of June. It's now end of July, 4 weeks later. This is a variety called Purple TP, and the beans are obviously purple and they hang down really easily for you to harvest. And I've just planted a couple in each and just done a couple of rows. They're quite bushy, obviously low growing because they're dwarf ones, and I can't wait for those to come out. And I've also got a pot of them, you can just see there, just with the remainder. They're just going to stay in the pot. Lettuce, this one is Lollo Rosso, just planted that out about a week ago. Now the weather, like I said, has been a bit atrocious. It's actually very windy today, and one thing vegetables hate is wind. So I'm kind of quite pleased they haven't failed yet, but they're looking pretty healthy. I planted them quite deep, well, the holes were quite deep anyway, just to kind of give the leaves a bit of extra protection from the wind. And then we've got courgettes taking over the world as usual. Now, everyone will know, everyone that follows me, that I cannot grow cucumbers. This is the extent of my cucumbers this year. I literally can't grow them. I don't know what it is. This is a variety called Crystal Lemon. I have grown them before, but they're just never prolific. But, I mean, it's looking okay, you know, compared to what people are harvesting. Yeah, not so great. This is beetroot that I've just planted out, so really tiny at the moment. You can see it's been multi-planted, which means that I've planted several little seedlings in one area, and they'll all grow together in a clump, and then I can just split them off when I need them. Then this is my runner bean wigwam, so starting to form flowers and some lovely beans. I think this one's called Painted Lady, the bean. It's funny with beans, you look at them, you don't think it's doing a thing, and then all of a sudden you're inundated, and then they are avidly climbing up these sunflowers, which you can't really see the colour of those at the minute. I'll go around the other side actually. Look at those. I kind of like the different dark coloured ones these sunflowers are. I don't know the names of them, to be honest, but I think that might be called Red Sun, that one. Absolutely stunning. There's some really tall ones there. Yep, so the beans use the sunflowers to climb up, and this bean wigwam here, I used it for peas earlier on, and this has got the runner beans and some French beans towards the back. The French beans have got the prettiest flowers. Look at that. How cute is that? What a gorgeous colour. I'm trying to think of the variety of French bean it is. Some more beautiful sunflowers. This middle bed is primarily now going to be brassicas, so there's some fennel that's gone over, you can just see there, and then I've got all sorts of brassicas planted. So these slightly larger ones on the outside, you can see I've got cos lettuce in between. That's going to be harvested obviously before the brassicas are ready. These are all purple sprouting broccoli, so these will come up next year. So this is kind of a bit of a long wait for those, and you do have to have the space. I've got a couple of cauliflowers and then quite a bit of kale, some chard, and I've got some Savoy a little bit further back, and then in the distance there, that is some lettuce that is a little bit in advance of the others. So I've got some chard on the left hand side, you can see, oops, there, chard there, a lettuce called Freckles, then I've got some cos lettuce as well. I kind of quite like to do as much successional sowing as I can. It's quite difficult to keep up with it all, to be honest. I'm sure everyone's in touch with that emotion, but sowing little and often will really help you keep your harvest going through the year. This bed here has got one of my favourites, celery. That looks amazing at the minute. It's a really lovely variety called Victoria. And the stems, aren't as thick as supermarket ones, but that's absolutely fine by me. And it tastes so strong, absolutely love it. And I grow a lot of it because I really like to drink celery juice. It's kind of got that bitter tang to it that I seem to really enjoy. I've left this because I did nothing with it. Look at how pretty that flower is. It's actually chop suey. So I sowed it and then basically forgot about it. But it's produced these really pretty flowers, so I've kind of left it, and the pollinators are obviously enjoying that. I'm literally finding it very hard to focus right now. Along here I've got some sown coriander. Does much better for me sown directly than in pots. I've learnt this over the last year, that if I successional sow a row of coriander, because I use it a lot, it just provides me with these lovely big fat healthy leaves, whereas if I grow them in a pot, it doesn't do that. So that's one for direct sowing. I've got some chard, which is quite new, so that's still got quite a lot of growing to do. It's called Bright Lights, so all different types of colours, so red and yellows and whites. And then that's a lettuce tower. Now lettuces will do this before they flower, so you'll tell when a lettuce is finished basically, because it will start to make this huge tall plant, and at the top you've got all these flowers. And basically I'll let this stay here. It's a little bit annoying because it does take up space, but I'll let this stay here, go to flower and then go to seed, and I'll collect the seeds for my subscriptions. So most of you, if you've been following me, will know that I do sell my seeds as part of a subscription service. And the more I can collect from the garden, the better. So this is one of the cos lettuces that has gone into flower, or is just about to come into flower. And once that's flowered, it will then turn to seed. So a little bit of a mess, but very useful if you collect seed from your own garden. These are my outside tomatoes. Now, I'm new to growing outside. Yeah, I trialled some outside and they've gone pretty well. They don't like this windy, wet weather, and I'm sure they'll start to get blight at some point, but this one is Black Beauty. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Now these are a lot darker than the ones in the greenhouse, and that's because they change according to the light levels. So of course these ones outside are more exposed than the ones in the greenhouse, so they've just got that lovely dark sheen. I can't wait to try those. And I've just got duplicates of what I've got in the greenhouse. So this one I think is a heart-shaped tomato from Ibiza. I've got some excuse me, some San Marzano here. That's starting to change, but these are a lot smaller. They're a lot later than the greenhouse ones as well. So I'll show you the San Marzanos in the greenhouse. They're like 3 times the size. But yeah, so I'm quite impressed. I am getting a lot of fruit off them. I've had a couple of rotten fruits, a bit of blossom end rot. That's not rot, that's just like damage from another branch. They bruise quite easily as fruits. Let's see if I can show you anything else. So yeah, I would definitely do that again. I love trialling things and seeing what works. So this one is called Burmese Sour. It's a new one to me this year, and it forms this really flat scallop-shaped tomato. Got those in the greenhouse too. It's all collapsed here, but I've just left it going. can see it doesn't seem to be bothered by the fact it's fallen over. I think they're susceptible because they're so bushy. I've let them, I haven't really pinched them out, the shoots. I've just let them grow. I think they've been quite susceptible to wind, you know, falling over and stuff. So I'm surprised they're all still okay, really. That one's called Rosella Purple. It's a heritage one. Hasn't changed its colour yet, but looking great down there as well. Yeah, so I'm actually really impressed with those. I'm just going to show you what the greenhouse looks like now. Now, the thing is, I have never liked dahlias, and now look at it. Absolutely obsessed with them. This statue here is made of recycled engine parts. It was brought back by my daughter-in-law. It's a love or hate thing. But basically we went to Senegal and she had it shipped back from Senegal. It's due to go to her house in London, but it's residing in my garden at the moment. So it cracks me up that everyone keeps going, what is that? Anyway, it provides me with a lot of memories, the fact that it came all the way back from Senegal and we had to take it to the post office and wrap it up, and it made it in 10 days to the UK. So there we go. So yeah, the dahlias are stunning and I have really enjoyed growing them this year. They're providing me with loads of flowers in the house. Yeah, this makes me really happy, this section. I grow a lot of flowers in my veggie garden just to try and encourage the insects and pollinators as much as possible. Now this area, my husband always says to me, God, it's so messy, but I literally love it. It is a mess, but I don't really do very much. I sometimes grow a few different things in here, but generally this is all stuff that has come up on its own, or the lilies are in pots there. But so I've got some Nicotania, however you want to pronounce it. It smells divine. Cerinthe, and then there's been alliums, there's echinacea, asters. At the back there's clematis, and then Verbena bonariensis here, which I'm trying to get in focus. There we go. Beautiful. Butterflies love that. And then this is kind of like a rose bed intermingled with cosmos, and weirdly there's an echinacea there. So, but yeah, the more things I can attract into the garden, the better it is, and the healthier environment you will have. Right, so here we are, my favourite part of the garden. So the greenhouse, still looking like a jungle, but now with the added advantage of all these absolutely beautiful fruits that are just coming, and it's such an exciting time because they are all on the change, so they're just starting to ripen. I may not be able to remember all of them, but so we've got San Marzano. So this is, compared to the one outside, look how big this is. Absolutely ginormous. Then I've got Indigo Cherry Drop, and this one changes colour from this really lovely dark purple to kind of like this reddy, black reddy kind of colour. Really nice flavour. And then I've got Alicante, which is a kind of a standard salad tomato. At the back, hiding around here, hopefully you can see that, is one called Green Zebra. Nice markings on that one. I've got a Costoluto at the back. It's not been too prolific, to be honest. I can't even see it. Oh, it's right hiding there. It's a scallop-shaped beef tomato. This one is called Black Prince. Now, it is supposed to be Black Prince. I don't actually think it is. It's not black. I don't know what it is. It's labelled as Black Prince. So every year I really try and get my labelling sorted out, and I thought I'd absolutely nailed it this year. I was totally religious with how I did it, and yet there are still some that, like this one, clearly not Black Prince. Anyway, so there we go, nice tomato growing. And then here I've got something called Burn Rose. They look like apples at the moment. really lovely big beefsteak tomato. This one is called Rose de Burn, so slightly different from Burn Rose. Again, one of the favourites of mine. Now that has got like a really lovely rosy pink tinge. Then this has been a star this year. This is called Prune Dantan. It's a heritage tomato. I don't know if the video is doing it justice, to be honest. Look at that colour. So it's like a greeny, oh, that's a bit better, greeny black kind of colour, almost sparkling, absolutely beautiful. This is the Burmese sour that was outside. The fruits in here are a little bit bigger, and if I pan down, oh, that's Sophie. Hi, Soph. Can you not stand on the tomatoes, thank you? Hi. Right, so yeah, there's the Burmese sour just starting to ripen. I've got an heirloom, Sophie, come on, move out the way, out the way. Heirloom tomato called Lillian's Yellow, looking forward to trying that. I mean, it is bigger than the palm of my hand. Look at that. Huge, so exciting. At the back, Dawson's Ox Heart. That is a heart-shaped tomato, beef style, so not too pippy, really good for sort of pastas and things. Then this one is Ailsa Craig, so that's a standard kind of salad tomato. So I kind of mix some standard ones in with heritage. The standard ones for me tend to be a little bit more prolific, so it's kind of nice to do a bit of a mix and match, and I can't help but order loads of different types of tomatoes anyway, so yeah, some heritage and fancy shapes, funky shapes, and then some kind of standard easy growing ones, and that is what that Ailsa Craig is. Another Burmese sour at the back there, that was made off a cutting, so these fruits are quite far behind. Hopefully they'll ripen, but if not I can put them into some kind of chutney. But that's just off a cutting off the plant. I've got some basil growing in the ground. There's some more basil seedlings here. This is Thai basil and standard classic. And then I made this really rookie error, really. Well, not rookie error, but stupid error of leaving this table in. So this has got my chilies on. We'll look at those in a second, but because I left the table in rather than removing it before things started being planted out, I kind of needed the table but didn't have enough space, and it's basically meant that the stuff at the back here haven't really got enough light. They are starting to fruit now, but a bit of a poor choice for me, so I've learnt that lesson. So chilli wise, we don't use a massive, well, we do use chilies all the time in our cooking, but I can't really take heat anymore, stupidly, as I've got older. So I just grow them for the shapes, and I love drying them in the kitchen and stuff. So that is one called Ring of Fire. It's a lovely Thai, sort of like a long one used in Thai curry. And this one I just grew it because it just sounded amazing. Look at it. What a funky shape. That's called Fiery Tongue. That looks amazing. Love that. With these as well, I do save the seeds. So there's a special way to save seeds from chilies so that they don't cross-pollinate. And essentially you have to kind of protect the flower from being pollinated by insects from another plant, so they don't sort of interbreed. And then once you've done that, you can then you get a pure seed which will grow the same type the following year, and then those are the ones that I use in my subscriptions. This one is called Anaheim, lovely thick flesh, really nice for salsas. There's sort of a yellowy one there at the back called Hungarian hot wax, and again that's quite a mild one. There's it, yellow at the back there. This is an ancho chili, so that's from Home Safe Seed. It's like a real smoky Mexican kind of chili, so I'm really excited about that. And then one of the most beautiful chilies I've grown is, I'm trying to show the light, there you go, look how lovely that is. Buena Mulata. It's a absolutely gorgeous purple, nice flavoured chili, and it fades to red, it ripens to red. But if you harvest them when they're purple, it doesn't, it's not quite as stingy on the tongue as a red one. They do get quite fiery. There is some more chilies here and some cuttings of tomatoes, which to be honest are a little bit too late now, I think. Although some are making fruits, you can see there at the back. Hello, there we are. Just wait for those to ripen. They'll obviously be smaller, but nice for late season. Some more lettuce that needs to go out. You can see how pretty that lettuce leaf there is. That's called freckles. Some more basil and some parsley. Up the top there is just a tray of more lettuce. Cosmos, I've planted that in the greenhouse as well. It does take a bit of room, but it's quite wafty, and it just looks really pretty among the tomatoes. I think encourages the insects in. The more insects you get, the more pollination you get, so the best it is for your fruits. This is purple amethyst. This is a bit of bruising caused by other branches banging on it, so not anything to worry about. I've got some Bloody Butcher, another favourite of mine. So it's a medium-sized tomato, but really, really flavoursome. Just pinch off that side shoot. At the back, actually, it's a really nice heritage one called Rebel Starfighter Prime. The colour of it is like galaxy, so it really reminds me of Star Wars, but yeah, look at that. Fancy shape, fancy colour, tastes lovely as well. Not too sweet, which is really nice. Some more purple amethyst doing their thing there. And then this is a heart-shaped one from Ibiza. There was some of that outside, but again, you can see the difference. These are much bigger. They haven't started to ripen yet. And then I've got Burn Rose again. This is absolutely ginormous and beautiful. It looks so much like apples. Just like Granny Smith apples hanging off the tree. Then I've got some cherry tomato called Sun Gold. They're all still to ripen there, but I've already been eating loads of those. If we go down to the bottom, on the bottom trusses, you can see that that has very much ripened. They are orange, they're an F1, so you can't save the seeds of those, sadly. You can take cuttings and try and overwinter them. I haven't done that yet, but you can do that for F1 varieties. And then this is Black Beauty. So this is the one that was outside. You can see the colour isn't quite as dramatically dark. Well, I suppose it is on the top, but the ones outside are really black. These ones are sort of just a bit more purpley, I guess, like a dark purple. I've got an ox heart one called Coeur de Boeuf, which is hiding around there. You can just see the pointed tips of them. Nice big leaf tomato again. That lovely shape. And then just in the corner down there is another Bloody Butcher, which I've already been harvesting. So the greenhouse has had a couple of, so things that have happened in here. I had a collapse of the string. This top string here holds all the tomatoes, so it's tied up from there to there, and then all the tomatoes are tied up with vertical strings to that point. And what happened was, I think the string that I had on the top piece wasn't strong enough. Obviously it wasn't strong enough because it snapped, and I came home to find all of these totally on the floor and stacked over, which is why now they are kind of all pulled back and all a little bit wiggly. There's been a bit of collapsing. I don't think it damaged them too much. It was obviously quite frustrating, but I don't think I suffered any breakages. It's just annoying, and a word of warning to the weight that you have to suspend is quite strong. Once they've got all their fruits and all the plants are on there, you can see how much this string is bowed. This is just thick garden twine, but I think next year I'll try and think about maybe using some wire or something. The ones on this side are all tied up actually to the frame of the greenhouse, which again, I'm not even sure whether that's a particularly good idea, but it just enabled me to pull them back and get them away. The other thing is getting them away from this path down the middle, because I showed you the damage on some of the tomatoes like this one. You can see the damage there, that sort of slight scuffing, and that's because that was leaning into the pathway here, and I kept hitting the tomatoes as I walked past them when I was sort of watering stuff. And then the other thing I wanted to just briefly talk about is blossom end rot. It's a disease that affects tomatoes. They rot from the bottom, so they look perfectly good on the outside, and then when you turn them upside down, they are rotten underneath, and it's like the cells break down underneath. They go watery. It's really disappointing because on the surface and on the top they look great, but underneath they don't. I'm just going to pull one out of the, if I've got one in there. So this one has been in the bin, but that's what it looks like at the bottom. So obviously the top is now, ignore that, but that would normally be obviously looking like a good tomato, and then when you turn it upside down it's rotten. I'm just about to put a reel out about another one that I found. I've probably had about 6 in here, 6 individual fruits, and I just cut them off and try and pretend it hasn't happened. Throw them away obviously, and the rest of the plant seems to be absolutely fine. It's odd how some fruits get it and some don't, and there's lots of information out there on the web about it, to do with whether it's low calcium levels, whether it's too much fertilizer, etc., etc. I think you could go on and on about it, reading about it and trying to self-analyze your soil and get bacteria tests done. I mean, unless you're a professional grower, then really, if you get a few, cut them off. If your whole plant is affected, then yes, you probably need to have a look at what you're feeding. I feed liquid seaweed once a week, and then I do a comfrey and nettle feed once a week. Well, mainly once a week. I try and remember to do it. And that's it. I mean, this is obviously soil that's been in the greenhouse, and I top dress that with manure every year, and I don't really know what else I can do, so I just accept there are some things that do fail. But generally, out of all of these tomatoes, you know, I've had a few losses, but apart from that, so far so good. Hopefully the rest of them will be okay. So I hope you enjoyed the tour. I'll be back in a while when other things have grown, when I've got other things to show you. Thanks for watching, and have a lovely day.